Hello, everyone out there in the Edge Studio, home studio, show and tell world. Hello. People are coming in quickly, and watching the numbers increase here. Hello. It is always fun to see so many familiar names. There are some great voice actors on this call. And then we've got this guy who's coughing on our screen. Looked like a good studio. Hey, let's see. What your shirt said bike shop. Let's see your studio there. Jeff Plunk, I see your name. Is that a studio or is like sorry.
Unmute. I guess I gotta unmute.
Yeah.
This
Oh
is
no, it's
kind of
comic. What is it? Comic books. Yeah.
my control room booths over there. Kind of my lair.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. So lots of people are coming on. Thanks, John. Let's see. Let's give everyone just about 30 more seconds and we'll get on. Because I'll tell this to everyone once. Because Siobhan is not here today, and many of you know Siobhan, our awesome host. Because Siobhan is not here, I am hosting, which means I have to continually look off to the side to admit people who are coming in. So my eyes will keep going that direction, and I apologize. It may look like I'm playing, may look like I'm texting someone or playing solitaire, but I am not. I assure you, I'm letting people into the meeting. So instead of officially getting going, I have a very quick question for everyone out there. Who has seen every one of these episodes? I think tonight is episode 14, if I'm not mistaken. Has anyone seen all 13 past episodes of Home Studio Show and Tell?
Tim Gleason has his hand up. Wow,
Cool.
David.
Yeah, what is the coolest thing for any of you who have seen, let's just say at least 3 or 4 of these different episodes? You can all shout it out at the same time. What keeps you coming back to seeing more of these? Because right before I let everyone in the meeting, I was telling John and Natasha, our guests tonight, what I hear back from people, like why people come back. But what do you guys? I'd like to hear it from you guys. Why do you keep coming back to watch this particular show?
So the thing that keeps me coming back is just the innovation, just to watch the way people take the circumstances that they have and make the most of it, and just some of the creativity of looking at their space, looking what they've got to work with, and turning that into a broadcast quality space is just fascinating to watch and see how people manage that.
Very fun. Yeah, that's a great point. I remember our first episode. One of our guests was Brian Wiggins, who's a coach, an amazing audiobook narrator and coach. And I remember watching him, and as he gave a tour of his studio, he was talking about a time when he just got into voiceover, and he had his first long form narration, whether it was long form narration or an audiobook. It was the first time he was in that booth for a long period of time, and he said, "It is then when he realized, holy crap, these rooms get hot." and he realized, but I can't put a fan in because it's loud. And he really sort of MacGyvered away to cool down that space, right? Through trial and error. And, many of us have these pre-built fans that, are very quiet, but he built it himself. It's so cool. Yeah. So it is very fun. Let's get going. Tonight, we have 2 super cool guests. We have Natasha and we have John. Let's have each of them just give a quick introduction of themselves. Usually, and this is interesting for me, just about every episode we've ever had, I know the voice actors very well who are on. Tonight's not the case.
No.
I know Natasha. We met over the years. We've met a number of times, but I don't know you that well. We were at the conference recently. Well, actually, that was like 6 months ago, and but I don't know your work, and I've never seen your studio, so it's exciting for me to see your studio. John, I don't know that well at all, but he and I had a call. John, 4 months ago, 3 months ago? This guy has a lot of work under his belt, some really good stuff, and a great studio. And we thought, what, it'd be really fun to bring Natasha and John onto tonight's show. So with that said, let's turn this over to Natasha just for a minute. Natasha, tell us how awesome you are. You're so busy as a voice actor, and everyone, you should know, even when this industry is slow for other people, Natasha is busy. She has done something with this voiceover industry that keeps her going, just going and going. You're like the Energizer Bunny.
Well, I've
Always busy.
planted a lot of seeds. I've just planted a lot of seeds over the years. So they come to fruition when you don't expect it, right? So I've been an at-home voice actor since 2006. Started in Canada in not a major market. It was Ottawa, Canada. And knowing that I wasn't in a major market, I knew that online is where I needed to be, online casting and a website. From Canada, moved to the Caribbean. And for a good 10 years, I was in a closet. So when we moved to California, I didn't know how much we were going to keep moving. I really wanted something for myself that was isolated and trustworthy and pro and made me look like a pro and feel like a pro. So I went with StudioBricks, and that was in 2016. I bought this beauty. So I've been doing this since 2006 at home all over North America, and have planted a lot of seeds. That's my story.
What kind of work do you do mostly?
I do a lot of corporate work, and I do commercial, and then just little bits of other things, but mostly corporate and commercial work.
Terrific. We would love, oh, actually, before we see your studio, John, can we get a quick bio on you?
My name is John McCalmont. I'm an actor, just like everybody else here today. On camera and voice acting. I did my first voiceover job at the age of 13. And I'm not going to tell you how old I am, but that's a long span of time. I've got a George Whittam designed voiceover booth. It's a great space to work. Maurice Tobias, who I've been studying with since I was 18 years old, said, when you build your voiceover booth, it's a place that I spend 40 to 60 hours a weekend. She said, it's got to be a really comfortable place to be. And so I spent the money, and I have a very comfortable place to work on a daily basis. A fully air-conditioned voiceover booth that I can work in during a hailstorm or a thunderstorm, and nobody would have a clue that it was going on in the outside world. So it's a very comfortable place to work.
Wow.
Absolutely looking forward to seeing your studio. Shall we get going, everyone?
Absolutely.
I'm in my office right now because my office and my studio are like kind of, it's a pretty good sized room. It used to be a dining room, so it doesn't have a door on it. So I sometimes put the screen up, but generally it's just open. I would like to put a door on it to have some privacy because it's next to the kitchen and TV and all the things. There's one thing, I have an obsession with trying to find the right stool for my booth. So I've bought this beauty, which is supposed to be, ergonomic, and was like $300, and I hate it. I bought a bar stool and it hurts my legs. My latest one is a medical stool that I like very, very much so that I can stand and sit in my booth. So
No, let me go back. Wait, before you go further. So Natasha, looking very quickly at that medical stool, what looks great about it is that it has rubber feet on the bottom, which is critical, right? To stop sound vibrations from coming up. So that's actually good. And
yeah, it just does the trick. Somehow I finally found the right stool. I've been through all kinds of bar stools and things, but that has worked really great. So yeah, I don't spend a lot of time like lounging. Here's my dog. This is Lily, one of them. But this is where I edit, at this desk. And then studio's here. So one thing I would recommend about StudioBricks is really think about which direction you've put it in, because it is like 1,000 pounds or a ton. The door opens a certain way, and if I had my druthers, it would open the other way. I don't even think that was an option, but it would make for much more room in the studio if it opened the other way. I've also tried putting my desk and things.
Natasha, I'm going to again interject. I think what you just said about when ordering a booth and thinking about which way the door hinges, which side the door hinges on, that is a really important thing. And that's like the kind of thing I would suggest everyone, whoever may purchase a booth or even have a booth built, thinks about, because that does make a big difference. We just went through that. We have 5 studios in Times Square in the city, New York City. We just renovated one of them to just make it a little different and larger. And we had the same thing with the contractor. Like we had whole discussions of, should it swing this way or that way? And it does make a difference, guys. So Natasha, that is a fantastic point.
Yeah, I wish I Anyway, okay. I do have a natural light here because it's so dark in this room. But other than that, I mean, and then a fan here that goes directly in through the studio, because as you mentioned, it's so hard to get a fan and air conditioning and whatnot. So I get that fan going, and then I can run this little thing at a very low level.
Can you tell us what that, Natasha, tell us what that thing is? Because a lot of people, whole lot of people have hardship with heat in their studio.
Well, this is what comes with the StudioBricks, and it's really not great. But when it gets really hot and I'm just editing, of course, I can have it at full volume. When I'm not editing and I'm recording, I've learned that I can have it just at a low too, and then I can noise reduce anything if there's anything on there. It's really not that effective. And really, this StudioBricks is from 2016, so they I know Lois is on the call here today. She might have something more effective because she's got the newer version. So
Yeah, Lois, do you want to interject for a second?
I may have a newer version, but I keep it on 2 when I'm recording, and then I turn it up when I'm not. So
yeah,
it can get warm in here. Yeah.
You know, I've known Lois for many, many years. It's the first time I've seen inside your booth. We have to get you on one of these episodes.
Yeah, that would be great.
I'm going to go back
And
to the
I got
chair
this
thing.
because of Natasha.
Oh, did you? Oh, that's cool.
Yes.
I want to go back. Hey, I'm going to go back for a second. There are a few chats about the chair here. I think someone's asking, I'm looking quickly here, but someone's asking about why use a booth rather than a gaming chair or something like that. I can think of a few reasons. Number one, a booth, rather a stool takes up a lot less space.
Yes, that's number
It
one.
probably forces you to have better posture, which if you're reading for a long time might be better also. I would think that a booth is I keep saying booth, I mean stool. I think a stool is probably going to be a lot quieter, because if you get a creaking like if you're leaning back in a gaming chair,
Yep.
I think a lot of them rock, right? So if you're rocking, there could be noise, and you're also moving further and closer to the microphone, which is really bad. So I think a stool makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and just finding the most comfortable one. But the big thing was actually the footprint of it. So I would buy different things, and the footprint would be way too big for the space that I have between this, whatever you want to call it. It's not an air conditioning, but a filter kind of a thing. And then my goofy table here, it really had to be a small footprint.
Someone is asking for the name of the stool, or at least a link to the company that made it. Do you know who that is? I'm assuming that this is a very quiet stool, and it has the rubber bushings on the bottom, which is super. Do you know what brand?
Share the link when I'm done and put it in the chat.
Oh, fabulous.
Well, John is. Yeah,
And
absolutely.
And Natasha, someone is asking what your measured noise floor is.
Oh my gosh, that's a good question, but it's okay. So the reality is it's probably that's a good question. I'd say it's, just above 50. Like it's very quiet, except when there's a truck or, the garbage truck or the lawnmowers. So, or leaf blowers. So it's not soundproof. It's not like a bomb shelter. And I was really hoping it would be. It's just not. And so that's one of the reasons I have a 416, because I still want that. If I had a U87, which picks up all the sounds, this booth just wouldn't be quiet enough, I don't think. So I've got the 416 so that it's directional. You can still hear my stomach sometimes, so it's a good microphone. But this StudioBricks, as wonderful as it is, it's not soundproof. It's the best that one can do without building their own sound.
Do you want to talk? Well, okay, here's a question. A few things, actually. Someone just wrote something interesting. They wrote, I use a padded Fender guitar stool for doing audiobook. I've been doing that for years, and it's worked great. Interesting. Sounds great. Are StudioBricks? Can you buy them in single or double walled construction? In other words, can you purchase an optional, right?
Yeah.
You want to talk to that, please? And which do you have, a single or double wall?
So I have a double wall. They do double and triple wall. So this is a double wall, and StudioBricks it's literally bricks. So it's been moved 3 times, and they're fairly heavy, but they're manageable. The only thing that is not manageable is this door. So you need like 2 people to get that door in and out if you're ever doing it. My husband so kindly has done it, but it's 200 pounds. But the actual studio itself is, modular and has rubber underneath, and it's really fabulous. I wish I bought a bigger one. So this is the 4x5. And at the time, it would have cost another $1,000 to get 1 foot more. And I wish I bought the 1 foot more, because just even the stool alone, I would like more space here to move than I have. So I wish I bought the bigger one.
Let me ask you a question. The up in the top, you have, I think it's
Yep.
a big piece of foam. Are those base traps? And if you can,
Yep.
can you talk about those, please?
Absolutely. So these are just basic, cheap base traps I've put in every corner, because when I bought this, it was recommended. I think George Whittam recommended these, and they cost almost nothing on Amazon, and they fit absolutely perfectly. I didn't have to fasten them in any way. They just fit right up there. And then up top, for a long time, I did not have this panel. I don't know a lot about it. Larry Hudson helped me with it. These are lights from IKEA. And he did this baffling panel with foam up top. Oh no, the foam already came. So it's just an extra panel with foam inside to help just that little bit more. And also for lighting, it's nice. It comes with a really bright light right here. I have paper over it because it's so bright. Still trying to work with my lighting to make me look beautiful. It's a challenge, the lighting for me, but I think because I don't have any natural light coming in at all, I've got to work with it. That's why I love Jason Birmingham's show so much. He has the most fantastic lighting.
Okay, let me catch up everyone on a few things. Natasha, first of all, this is so cool. I'm loving seeing this. It's great. Natasha just referenced Jason Birmingham, who's a voice actor in Brazil, who has one of the nicest looking studios I've ever seen, including his lights. It's lit so well for his clients to have like a nice experience. And I think may have been episode 10, if I'm not mistaken, on our home
11.
studio show, episode 11. Cool. Thank you. There's some great comments. And at some point, I will remind everyone again, you should download the chat. And once this meeting ends, the chat is gone. So you should download the chat before the meeting is over. I'll remind you toward the end of the episode. But there are sorts of things. There are people posting here, Natasha, about nursing stools with backs, but they're back supports, but they tend to be creaky. Someone wrote a great comment. Oh, this is Terry Briscoe, excellent voice actor. Hey, Terry. He wrote, I have knocked down, drag out battles with stomach noise constantly. We all share, like in this industry, like everyone goes through the same things, the stomach noise, the mouth noise, it's cool.
Right.
We all can talk about these things. Natasha, what else is, tell us something, the mic, well, you talked about the 416, you have some lights set up. Tell us about your mic stand, because that's a big thing for people. What kind of mic stand mic stand have you had, and what have you settled on?
I'm glad you asked. I have not settled on this though. So this is a Heil, Heil, and Larry Hudson drilled it into the StudioBricks, which, made me nervous, but you got to do it sometimes. And really, I would like to buy the arm that goes with this. It's a mica arm. I'm going to reference right now Yellow Tech. I believe it's from Germany. So I bought this to mount the monitor so that it would give me a little bit more room on my table. It's a very small table. The new StudioBricks, you can get a voiceover model of StudioBricks, and they have a little table. They have a few extras. This one does not. So I have this, which is not enough space for me, but it does raise up and down. But now my monitor can raise up and down on this. Well, what do you call that contraption? I don't know. But anyway, behind it, you can see I can pull the monitor out a little bit, and soon I will buy the arm to go with that. It is very expensive, but I think completely worth it, because this Heil arm is creaky. So every so often while I'm recording, it will just give out a little creak, which I don't like. Yeah. So that's yellow tech that I'm looking into. And then I wanted to show everyone, if you don't mind, David, I have this center camera. You can't really see because I have the screen is lit with things. But I bought a center cam. And so the camera is right in the middle of the screen and the light is right above. So it's this kind of like an arm that's flexible. And so then I'm right in, I'm looking at you, not on my phone, obviously, but on my computer. It's much better for me, I think, for doing my webcast and also doing Zoom sessions. So I can look right into their eyes, and also it comes with a light.
Tell us the brand of that again, please.
So it's called the Center Cam, thecentercam.com. So if you buy a StudioBricks or Center Cam, tell them Natasha sent you, please. Thank you.
I'm writing that one down. That's a great one. And
I will
someone wrote, I need a link to that camera. Someone else wrote, I have the same camera, really nice. Someone wrote, the Rode PSA one arm works great and no creaking, Natasha, they wrote.
Okay.
Someone else is asking what headphones you, are your headphones the Beyerdynamic D?
They're Beyerdynamic, but I have to tell you, I made a mistake. So I had the most lovely headphones, Beyerdynamic 220 ohms, and they break on the sides. There's a little clips here that crack and break. So I went to buy myself another pair, but this is the 70 ohms. I bought myself the 250 ohms. I didn't know, everyone, there's a difference, and there's a big difference. So 250 ohms aren't actually meant for voiceover. They're meant just for like the everyday person. It also has a telephone wire. I don't like that at all. So I'm going to buy myself a new set of Beyerdynamics that are the 70 ohms that are more sensitive for voiceover. Does anyone have comments about that or questions?
Let me see if anyone's writing about that. No. There are, so first of all, whoever put up the link to the centercam.com, thank you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, Gary McFadden, I think it is. I have to put on my glasses to see. No questions so far on the headphones that I'm seeing. I did have one other question, and I'm trying to think what it was now. So what equipment are you using? I saw a Yamaha something or another.
Yep, an APO3. A quick comment before you buy a center cam. I think I have a discount code that I can give you when I'm done here for a few bucks off. This is an AGO3 and I love it. So this is my second one, although I didn't need to buy another one. It's just so simple, and the best thing, it has a loop back, so I can play audio back for my clients, which I think a lot of voice talent cannot do. And I think it's really important to be able to do that nowadays.
I will tell you from our perspective, it is really helpful. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm gonna,
I did have a question about the headphones, if that's okay.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you. So now for the because the ones that I was looking at was the 250 or the 80. I didn't realize that there was a 70. So are you saying that you prefer, Natasha, the 250 or the
Absolutely not the 250. So
Okay.
I preferred are you're right, 80 ohms. You want to buy that.
The 81. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
David, I'm going to go off camera now and get to my other one. Does that sound okay?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And let me just quickly look at some other questions because momentarily we'll move over to John. Someone wrote, I like my AT MX50. Well, you guys can read the chat. Remember, everyone, you'll want to download the chat before we get off of this call, or you will lose that chat. And I think there's a lot of good information here. Cool. Natasha, are you back on? Can you hear us?
I am.
Okay. Hey, welcome back. Natasha, thank you so much. Um,
Yeah.
it's great. It's great to see your place. Great to always
Mm.
see you. It's great to see your place.
Thank you so much for the
And the fact
opportunity.
that it's, everyone, as Natasha said on a few things, the stool, even the microphone stand, these things are a work in progress. Your career grows, you get different kinds of work. Long form goes to short form, or short goes to long, and it gets louder outside or quieter outside. The climate's heating, it's hotter inside all the time. Um, it's good to know that you're adapting. You've been at this for so long, which is terrific.
Exactly.
And
Yeah, you can always improve. And I would love to have the new StudioBricks that Lois has, because those panels behind her are environmentally friendly. They're sourced environmentally, sustainably and stuff. So it's a real upgrade. But
I think they're made from recycled blue jeans.
jeans, yeah. Jeans. And they also make StudioBricks in every kind of size, because they make them for other industries as well, even for the medical industry and different things. They make huge ones. So at this point, you can get different colors and you can get different sizes. So yeah, I recommend.
do you think if you had the three-wall construction, would it block out the sound of the trucks and everything?
I think it would be so much better. Lois, do you have three?
Yeah, I was going to chime in. I do have the three layers, three wall, and I'm still having some issue with gardeners.
Yeah.
Yeah, the leaf blower. So, I mean, it's a work in progress.
Yep.
I'll tell anyone, if you are recording short form, sometimes it's not that bad if you
Yeah.
have a gardener coming by, right? Because you can
Exactly.
stop recording, wait for the gardener to pass for a half hour, and resume.
Yeah.
The exception to that is if you have client-directed calls. If you have a client on the phone or Zoom or IPDTL or Source Connect or whatever, and they are expecting to go, and you have to say, "Oh, sorry, guys, we have to wait 20 minutes." That is not optimal. But for most voice actors, usually the vast majority of their work is all on your own. So, that Monday mornings, for example, the gardeners come, and landscape outside. So you take Monday mornings off.
Yep.
But if you're reading long form, then that three wall can help. And even then, as Lois, as you're saying, nothing's foolproof.
Yep.
Well, I guess maybe John's studio is. Let's see John's studio. Let's see how foolproof it is. Natasha, a huge thank you. Everyone give Natasha a thanks. And John, hello.
They're seeing me actually.
Oh,
well,
we
yeah.
see his engineer.
Oh yeah,
There-
Nigel, there you are. Oh, there you are, John. Hello, Nigel and John. Yeah, Nigel is his friend engineer.
And
John.
can you hear me?
We hear you. Hello.
Awesome. And we have Violet too, right over here in the corner. So say hi, Violet.
She's quiet.
Studio dog.
If you go through however many episodes we've had of this show, I bet at least 75% of the studio owners have some dog or cat hanging around. It's great.
Lonely, 60 hours a week in a padded room gets lonely. You have to have some companionship. So
There you go.
yeah.
So John, let's hear about you and the work you're doing and on all that.
Just like everybody in this presentation today, sometimes you go to bed unemployed every night and you wake up in the morning and you have no clue what you're going to do. And it's oftentimes, a corporate industrial, an e-training video, a movie trailer, a promo for a network, and then you're back to an e-training video. It's one of the things that just makes our jobs so interesting on a daily basis.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you have this buttoned up studio, George Whittam designed. Let's see it.
Well, this is the outside of the studio. We are actually in the top level of my barn. So we're in a typical Texas red barn, and that goes downstairs to the bottom of the barn where my toys are, and I've got a full bathroom. And I have an assistant that comes in 4 days a week, and she sits back there. That's her station where she works at. Purified water that I'm drinking all day long, and then when I'm doing all of my work and throughout the day, editing or answering emails or doing billing, I sit out here where it's comfortable and I can, listen to my record player and be relaxed. Then, and I've got a little some photos to show you. I'll show you when we get in here. This is the actual booth right here. And this room is actually floating inside of the upstairs of the barn. So there is nothing that is actually connected to anything else, which is one of the reasons why it's so soundproof. It's kind of like engine mounts. You can see that there's a rubber bushing here, with an aluminum mount, and all of the structures are mounted with these so that when sound waves travel, they can't travel through a nail or through a screw or something like that. They get dissipated very nicely. And on my booth, I've got 2 doors. So, and these are just, Home Depot doors. They're nothing fancy. But what I did do is one piece of glass is tempered glass and one piece of glass is normal glass. And there's an air gap in between, because as most of everybody knows that are watching this, when sound waves travel, you want different levels of materials to dissipate those sound waves. So I've got your typical construction. I'm on a full floating floor. And when you walk in, you can see that there's 2 doors. And then I've got a full double walled setup here. So I've got 2 layers of sheetrock with green glue in between. And then I've got a regular studded 2x4 wall with wool insulation inside. Then I've got a 2-inch air gap. And then I've got the same repeated again with the 2x4 wall, the wool, and the 2 layers of sheetrock with green glue in between it. So that when the sound waves travel, every time they hit a different density of material, different levels of sound waves are dissipated. And then when it hits the air gap, which air gaps are very important, the sound just ricochets inside of that air gap. Same with between the 2 doors, the sound just ricochets and it dissipates even more and it loses its velocity as it travels through again. So as you walk into the booth, it is just as quiet as it can possibly be. And it's completely tuned for me. Literally, I stand all day long. I don't like to sit down. So I literally stand here and I'm able to work with my 416 or my U87 throughout the day. And some of the cool things about the booth are the fact that when I built this, I wanted a window to the outside world, because you spend so much time in here. You want to have natural sunlight. You want to be able to see outside. So behind me, you can't see anything because it's dark, but you can see I have a window that overlooks 8 acres of land right here. And it's the same thing, tempered glass, regular glass. And then the other window on the very far side, I'm not sure if you can see that or not. That's the original glass in the barn when I first went for the installation. And then the other really nice thing about this booth is it's fully air conditioned. So behind this wall right here, behind, where my monitor is and my desk is a full muffler system for my AC. So back here, I've got, it's very similar technology to like a silencer on a gun that you would see in a movie. So the air travels through this maze and goes through a huge muffler system and comes out right up here and is dissipated and roll. In fact, you can feel the air coming off right now because the air conditioner is actually running right now, and it rolls off down here. And then, of course, when you have air conditioning in a room this small, you also have to be able to get rid of the hot air as well. So I have a return system built right here, and you can see it's another muffler system that returns, that pulls all of the hot air out of here. So it's a very comfortable place to work. I can work in here for multiple hours. And I live in the state of Texas, and if anybody's watched the news, you know that it's been an incredibly hot summer. And so it's nice to have an air-conditioned place to work. I've got a custom-built desk, especially for me. I still have my old ISDN box in there that's been turned off since COVID hit, and I've got some photos to show you of the construction if you're interested to see them.
That'd be great. Before we see photos, let me see if there are any questions here, or if anyone has any questions. Now is a great time to ask. John, you're getting lots of compliments on your studio. Beautiful studio. John, you thought of it all. What a nice studio. Someone is asking, what is your measured floor noise? Your noise floor, rather.
George measured it. It's over my head.
I honestly, as an actor, I try not to get too technical on things. I try to let experts do that for me. I can tell you this, it can literally be a full hailstorm, ice hitting the roof of this barn, and you can't hear a thing in here. In fact, if I'm in a long session, oftentimes I get a little sensory deprivation, and I have to walk outside for a while because it is so soundproof.
Fabulous. So cool. Someone is writing, the natural light doesn't make any noise. Would you be able to put it in the boots? Do you remember what the name of the natural light is? Wait.
That's for me. That's for me.
Oh.
I'm looking for the link, but it's very quiet and I haven't put it in the booth and I should figure out how to do that. But I'm looking the link.
Oh, that's so funny. I thought that question was for John's window. Like, who would have a name for natural light? Because, it's interesting.
My natural light is free, by the way. It comes from the sun.
There you go.
Yeah, everybody can have it.
The couple who went last month, Rosie and Brian Amador, both wonderful voice actors. They live in a home. It's from 1862, maybe they said. The entire main level of the basement level is converted to the studio, and they used a company called soundproofwindows.com. So sometimes there is a name, but
yeah.
Anyway, so this is cool. Yeah, let's see some photos. Oh, you know what? Sorry, John. Let me interrupt. Someone is writing, do you have questions are coming here. Do you have a fight reflection from your Oh, there's some typos there. I think they're asking if you get reflection from your monitor, because you are talking right into your monitor. Are you getting reflection off of your monitor?
It may be hard to see with the camera, but I'm quite a ways away from the monitor, and the room has been acoustically designed to be just as dead as can be. So the only place I really got reflection in here when we built it was from the top of the desk. So that's why I put a little foam here at the top of the desk. But the monitor doesn't bother me at all. And I like having the large monitor because I like being able to have I'm on a UA system, so I like being able to have the mixing board up, the Pro Tools up, and the script up at the same time, and it really gives me no problem whatsoever.
Okay, that makes sense. And it's something that a lot of voice actors do in that situation. If they are getting a reflection off of the monitor, is just angle the monitor. You just tilt it, 15 degree or up or down, and then put a piece of foam like you have, and very
this
often
one it is slightly angled down, so it
oh great.
Yeah.
Okay. Just a side question. Someone is asking why you would need more than one mic. And just in general, to that person, to anyone who is curious about that, it is very normal for voice actors to have multiple mics because different microphones have different sounds, or they create different sounds, and you can use those microphones in different ways. Some microphones are more tolerant to you as a human being moving around. So in other words, with some microphones, you can move an inch or two or even 3 or 4 inches from the mic, and it won't really affect the sound as much as it will on other mics. Sometimes the sound quality you want, for example, from a shotgun microphone, maybe that's the sound you want, but with a shotgun microphone, because they are so pinpointed direct of a pickup pattern, you move an inch to the side, and it really does change the sound of your voice. So there are different microphones for different reasons.
You're right on target with that because, and also I have certain animation studios that I work with that require me to be on a U87.
Absolutely.
That's what they want me to be on. But people talk about booth burnout all the time. And what a lot of voice actors don't realize is you can get mic burnout too. So if you're always working on the 416, which is what I work on probably 80% of the time, I'm stuck right here, and I can't move. And if I feel myself getting burnt out, or if I feel myself, needing some inspiration, I'll swing the U87 over here, and I have that freedom to move around and be more interactive. And so it helps me out, being able to move back and forth for my acting, in order to give different types of reads and presentations to different types of scripts that I'm doing.
John, what tell us some of the big work that you've done, some interesting things.
Oh, it's
like you mentioned earlier. You mentioned you have an e-learning video, and then you go to commercial. But what are some brand names or anything interesting?
Currently I'm one of the voices of Spectrum One. Doesn't play everywhere. You have to be, it has to be where you have Spectrum available to you. I just recently did a really nice spot for the Navy on building submarines. They ran that on a lot of the the football games here recently. That was a fun one. I'm the voice of Toru in One Piece. I do that almost on a weekly basis right now. He's got a big meaty role, lots of grunts, a lot of fun. I've done movie trailers on the Voice of the Circle network. It's a great plethora of a mixture of any, like I did a narration for a series on linemen and and the trials and tribulations they face in the field when they're trying to restore electricity to people who have been in natural disasters, and that was just a blast this morning. So I'm very fortunate to have a wide variety of work that keeps it very interesting every day.
Fabulous. Great, thanks. So yeah, let's see some photos.
Yeah, so might want to turn the light off on that to get the photos in there. So can you see that photo there, Nigel? Yeah. So that was what the room looked like, in the very beginning. And you can see there used to be an AC system up there. I had originally built it as a man cave and just never utilized it. And as our family grew up, I had a voiceover booth very similar to this built in the house. But as our family grew, we wanted more space in the house, so I moved it out here. And you can see it was just an odd shaped place that was in a barn. And then we started the construction. George Whittam designed it all remotely, and he actually made his first visit here just a couple of weeks ago. But he was great. And you can see right here, these 2x4s right here. Behind this is the big muffler system that we built for the AC system. So this right here is the wall that my current monitor is on. And this is part of that muffler system behind the wall right there. This is part of the full floating floor. We not only have deadening material underneath the floor because we're on a second story, but under these layers of plywood is a massive rubber mat that as we kept putting the plywood down, the mat squeezed down and the floor actually floats on that mat. And you can see the mat right there squished down and the different layers of plywood that we were applying. And then we were also doing green glue between the layers of plywood to help deaden that sound. Here is the first layer of sheetrock on the walls and the ceilings and the floor going in, part of the green glue and the sealant we were using, and the guys sealing everything. Every corner, nook, and cranny got sealed with a silicone material in order to make sure that no sound could leak in at any point anywhere. Part of the rock wool we used. And here you can actually see the construction coming into play. You can see the two walls. This outside stud right here has not yet been, the outside wall has not been made yet, but you can see the air gap in there and the 2x4s. And you can see up here at the top, if we zoom in, that it's not actually touching the sheetrock. It's all floating inside of there. And then this was actually before the sheetrock went on. We're not quite in order, but you can see all the wool going in, and that's where my glass is to the outside world, so I can have natural sunlight in here. Part of the ceiling going in. This is underneath the voiceover booth. You can see part of the air conditioning system right here. We spray foam this, and then later went in and put multiple layers of plywood underneath this, so that when I have a bunch of cars and boats downstairs and tools, and if my air compressor kicks on, I don't want to hear it. Sometimes I forget to turn it off, and now I don't have to worry about it because I can't hear it through the booth. And another shot of the booth going in right here, and all of the stuff. Part of the two walls set up as it's being constructed. And there's my view. That's the view that I wanted, so that I would have natural sunlight come in while I was working throughout the day. This is a really neat photo because you see these rails that are on the ceiling. Since I'm in a barn, the barn has an aluminum roof, and if it's raining and the rain is hitting the aluminum, it's just amazingly loud. And so that was one of our big challenges in building this booth. And this rail system is decoupling all of these different pieces of sheetrock from the actual studs and the actual joist in here, allowing more dissipation of sound waves, so that when it does rain, it just completely absorbs all of that, and I don't hear it inside of the booth. So which is really nice. And then here's the guys installing the first layer of sheetrock on those rails to get it going. And we actually there's 2 of these layers of sheetrock. This is the first one that they put on. And here's a really good example of one of those isolators that I showed you right here. You can see that the rubber grommet is touching the sheetrock and nothing else hooked up to the actual wood. And there's the air gap right there that helps dissipate those sound waves. So pretty fun stuff. It makes for it just makes for a really super comfortable place, to work throughout the day. And because it's so comfortable, I think it really enhances my ability to, provide great work for my clients.
Terrific. Wow. Love seeing these studios. It's great. Let me see if there are any questions here for you. I'm looking quickly at the list here.
And we
There
can
are a
probably-
bunch of questions for on mics and stuff. Oh, someone asked a question, John. I don't know if you want to answer this. This is from James Romick, James, hello. James was on an episode of Home Studio Show and Tell. James, you were on the episode with Jason Birmingham, who we referenced a bit earlier, probably 3 or 4 months ago. James's studio probably
I built
has like
my
the
own
lowest
too, so
noise
I
floor.
designed it and built it myself.
Yeah, you must have one of the lowest noise floors of any studio.
It's pretty good. Yeah. I do audiobooks, so I have to have a low noise floor. I'm
Well,
not in my studio right now. I'm outside on the other side of the wall. But the room that I'm in, I have a little fan going on here, but I'm using a really nice little shotgun microphone that I love quite a bit. It's only about $170 and it sounds really nice.
Awesome. Well, James, your question to John, and John, obviously you may not want to answer this, but what was the construction cost?
Ironically, not as much as you would think. There was the design fee with George, which was incredibly reasonable. And he has all of that information on his website, so that's public information. And then I hired a good trim carpenter and told him what I wanted to do. And he was very meticulous with his work, and he thought it would be fun. So really when you think about just the materials for this room like this, I was literally about $7,500 in material. And then of course it took a good 2 weeks to build it, and a crew runs anywhere, depending on how many guys you're running, anywhere from $8,000 to $1,000 a day for a crew. So some people think, oh, that's $100,000 voiceover booth. It's not really that at all. I mean, really, when you break it down, it's a bunch of sheetrock, a bunch of glue, a bunch of 2x4s, and it's put together correctly. And when it's put together correctly, man, it makes for a great sound room. Probably most of the money I spent was on the sound deadening. All of these custom panels that I had built, for the room, was a big expense, because I had ATS build all of those to spec for me. Yeah, I don't even have a special AC. It's just a regular 4-ton unit on the upstairs of the barn. It's just the way that we routed all of that made it really quiet so that it makes it comfortable in here.
Yeah, the single most expensive purchase that I had was the glass for my window, because I had that was 2 panes of tempered glass, 3/8 inch thick, and it
took the longest amount of time also to get in. I mean, I remember we had to wait almost a month to get our glass in. That was I had forgotten about that expense. That was expensive.
The company who built our studio in New York City, they only built studios, and I'm sure some of you on this call, I know some of you have been to our studio. It's very well built, and we also have lots of natural light. We have a whole lot, like rooms of natural light, and so we know what goes into it. So anyway, the company that built the studio, right before building our 5 studio complex, they built Alicia Keys' studio, and right before that was Beyonce's studio. And the guy who owns this company, Chris Hermati, who's fantastic, was telling me this funny story. This happened like days before they began our construction. We have this gigantic. I'm sorry, what, John?
I was going to switch over to the other computer. Nigel's arm.
So we have this in Alicia Keys' studio. They have this gigantic window, double pane window. They put up one window, and I saw them do this in our own studio. They put up the one pane of glass, they clean it and clean it and clean it before they put the second pane up, because once that second pane goes up with an air gap in between, that is sealed forever. They cleaned and they cleaned and they cleaned
We
some
did
more.
the
And they
exact
cleaned
same thing. We
Okay.
cleaned that because you're never going to touch that piece of glass again.
Well, that was not the case with Alicia Keys' studio. And forgive me, it may have been Beyonce's, whichever one of those two studios was right before our build out. So they put the second pane in, and the next morning there was a big spider walking inside the gap. Yeah. You're talking like a whole crew of guys, like a whole nother day of like,
Oh, wow. Wow.
So listen, John and Natasha, a huge thank you. A tremendous, tremendous thank you. Everyone on this call and everyone who watches this video should know that they're just donating their time to offer ideas and stimulate conversation. So it's fantastic, you guys. Thank you.
You're
A
so
few-
welcome.
A few
Mine was way
very-
more interesting than I thought, David. Thank you for letting me show mine. I thought it was going to be super boring.
Oh,
Thanks,
no, it's
David.
great. Every studio is great. Well, guys, we'll be back next month. If any of you want to show off your own studio, let us know. I know we have a couple of people sign up, lined up for the next few months. But put your name in, and we'd love to get you on. Yeah, thank you, everyone. This is another home studio show and tell. Natasha and John, a sincere thank you. Good night, everyone.